Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with Savage Unfiltered Podcast, thelibertybeacon.com, and I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Lenard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. As Listen Note says, there are 168.9 million plus podcast episodes available out there for you to listen to. So I really appreciate you tuning into mine. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show! Greetings, everyone. Couple of housekeeping issues. First, this is Woke Tax. Season 1, Episode 29. Yes, even though this is now 2024, I started the podcast in June of 2023, so I will be taking my Season 1 all the way through into June of 2024, which at time then will roll into Season 2. Rather than confuse matters by jumping to Season 2 before a full year of actual Season 1 episodes. So there's that. Beyond that, with this being the first podcast of ChristiTutionalist Politics in January of 2024, again, Season 1, Episode 29, it will be, as this now a weekly podcast. There will be, of course, 52 weekly episodes, right? We will go up to Episode 52, then roll into Season 2. But yes, if you've noticed, I have had a few special midweek drops, mid-month generally, but they may not always happen in the middle of the month. But yes, pretty much going forward, I am planning, there will indeed be usually in every month a midweek special drop for each month, potentially 2 in a month, but for now, starting slow, a special midweek drop, which will be more interviews, going back with my regular episodes being more or less monologues and moving interviews to the special midweek drops, focusing solely on topics, solely on issues, solely on what the guest brings to the show, then which means there will be no corresponding The Liberty Beacon piece, unless if that happens to be a special midweek drop also, since the show and The Liberty Beacon correlating pieces always drop on the Saturdays. Also beyond that, I want to point to, for those watching on behind the scenes, sneak peek at J. Leonard Detroit, YouTube, Rumble, and sometimes BitChute or Brighteon, and even occasionally Vimeo drops, special sneak peek behind the scenes video versions of the show. You can see the background for Happy New Year, folks. And oh, where did I put my glasses? Let me grab my glasses and temporarily, there we go, my 2024 glasses, but they got the very little holes there, so I can hardly see what I'm doing, so I'm not going to keep them on through the whole show. The other housekeeping, again, the background, thank you to Sergey Peterman. This is a general annual series of his that my background is showing us rolling over into 2024. So thank you, Sergey Peterman, for your wonderful Happy New Year's images. don't know how long you've been doing these. I know you've been doing them probably, I think, around 10 years. There will be a new one, of course, going forward every year. I want to thank you. The other thing is ChristiTutionalist Politics 2, the book that I've spoken of before and mentioned in the back of the ChristiTutionalist Politics book that is out now, available bookstores anywhere, and of course, Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, Nook, of course, Amazon Kindle, virtually everywhere. ChristiTutionalist Politics book is out, has been since August of 2023, in which I discussed there will be a follow-up ChristiTutionalist Politics book too, that I'm more or less looking at probably will launch June 1st of 2024. So please watch for that, as it will be a follow-up to the original book, a follow-up to this show, to try to be an election guidebook, more or less, for Christians, getting us Christians together back to the Bible in full context, not warping and distorting particular scripture, and asking that Christians remember to vote biblically. The Bible, if you're a true Christian, is supposed to support and enforce and influence your political worldview versus fake Christians that I talk about in the original book and during the show that take passages, scriptures from the Bible and misquote them entirely, or make up some out of whole cloth, or pick and choose something out of context of the whole Bible. So I wanted to mention that. Hopefully will be dropping June 1st. And the other last thing is the reason I mentioned ChristiTutionalist Politics 2, the book, for June 1st, 2024. I was just writing, if you could see on video, in my hand, I have sheets of paper that I added to the About the Book section, expanding the original About the Book from the first book. The About the Book will be different in the second book. And I wanted to give a shout out to Dennis Prager. I just added this, that will be in CTP2. I think Dennis Prager is my favorite talk show radio host. I really admire his crafty use of language, and especially how he can traverse difficult psychological concerning topics, political or not. Listen back at CTP episodes on gray areas, part 1 and part 2. That was season 1, episode 22, and season 1, episode 23. That can be a minefield. Sadly, I fear likely I can only ever dream of obtaining use thereof language as skillfully as he does in my works. Dennis has a great ability to stay calm and level-headed, even when dealing with guests or callers that try to, quote, take him off his game, unquote. Whereas with me, if you've listened to my podcast or me as co-host on Savage Unfiltered, Savage Underground, Savage Cuts, Savage Radio, which after 1 month, we're leaving the Block 105, so Savage Radio will be no more. There were only 4 episodes. It's a series of show. You know, at times I can get a bit hot under the collar, right? A bit upset, outraged on a particular set of topic or topics, issue or issues, and get loud, animated, may seem like a stark raving lunatic, like leftist snowflake, even though I always assure myself to stay involved using logic, reason, and facts. Luckily, only very few, but a couple, podcast episodes that I sound more like a ranting and raving nut rather than purveyor of important informational food for thought. as I promise you in the opening of every show, am in need of serious considerations. No one I know wants a complete far right-wing, anarchical, zero governance situation. But now, too, people like Brandon Strzok, Candace Owens, and others awakening from woke PC stupor, realize they don't want the far left wing pure tyranny, pure overrunning government at the federal level, control dictates over the people either. We may disagree on things here and there, but we're on the same page of eyes wide open to the leftist deflections, distractions, distortions, denials, and dodges, which look back on the Liberty Beacon for the leftist 7Ds, or the CTP episode, the leftist 7Ds, of which deflections, distractions, distortions, denials, dodgings are just part of the 7Ds, the extension of the Alinsky tactics, and results versus rhetoric matters. It is with that spirit that I wished to change the paradigm, much like Dennis Prager did in telling the difference between a leftist and a classical liberal, and Ronald Reagan with his up-down political philosophy paradigm in my creation of the term ChristiTutionalist. Real, and yes, I will ask you to question real versus fake dynamic further in Christians-based U.S. constitutionalism. So yes, I apologize. I read that verbatim because I wanted to get it right. I just recently added that to the CTP2 about the book section for the upcoming CTP2 book.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ed Bondarenka, and I host Your American Heritage on Saturdays at 2 in the afternoon on this station. Your American Heritage is a show about the struggle we find ourselves in and how to react to it in the light of our biblical and American heritage. Listen to it while you're working around the house, the garage, cleaning the guns, walking the dog, driving, or just lazing around. Join me at 2 o'clock Saturdays here on Wham Radio, 1600 AM, 92.7 FM.
God bless America.
Also, now, finally, what this show is supposed to be about, the woke tax. What prompted this is that I have been talking to you, and I've been talking about taxes since forever. I've been writing online since before the internet was ever created, back to the days of 300 baud personal computer dial-up modems where you dialed other computers to put things up online, unlike the internet today where they're all easily accessible through the network. But I've been anti-tax from the start. Well, here's one time I'm willing to be for a tax. I've been calling for what is a woke tax to punish the universities. If Joe Biden, I've talked about this in several episodes and online articles over the years, but more recently regarding the loan deferment, the college loan forgiveness, the college debt forgiveness that Biden is pandering to younger people with to try to buy votes, which is unconstitutional. He does not have that authority. It requires an act of Congress. And I've been saying for a long time, okay, let's call the left bluff. The U.S. House should, I've been saying this before we took charge, pass a bill to forgive college loan of only certain debt. If you get an economics degree, a business degree, those degrees that matter, not these lefty loon gender studies or this study or that study, actual legitimate degrees that set someone up for a real job let's make the colleges and the universities pay for that loan forgiveness. I've been saying that for years now. Their endowments are over billions of dollars. Together, collectively, they amount into the multiple trillions of dollars. Yet they keep raising the tuition rates. And why? Ever since Obama took and federalized the loan program that was private before. You signed a private contract and entered into a loan just like anyone else entering into a loan. And the bank weighed whether you were going to college to get an actual degree, which meant you would qualify for a real job that would pay you enough in order to pay back those debts. But once Obama federalized the loan process, it became free, easy money. Therefore, the colleges knew anyone could get a loan for any degree of any kind, regardless if it meant there would be a job waiting for them when they got out of college, and run up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So the colleges could keep raising tuition, even though their endowments are such that they could literally not just lower tuitions, but pay the tuitions of each and every one of their students for decades to come. But yet they still keep growing them. So it's time Congress act, the House create a loan forgiveness act, which creates a wealth tax, a one-time wealth tax on the college endowments of 10%, 20%, 30%. Doesn't the left always call for a wealth tax? Call their bluff. How then could the left in the Senate deny it and filibuster? And you know darn well Senator Warren in the Senate would filibuster such an act, even though Senator Warren and Bernie Sanders have been calling for a overall overriding general generic tax for ages now. So it's time to call their bluff. And I bring that up again now because somebody in D.C. must have actually been listening. So I read to you from a Tom Cotton press release, Washington, D.C. Senator Tom Cotton, Republican, Arkansas, today introduced the West Act, Woke Endowment Security Tax. Ha ha ha! Somebody's been paying attention. Although, like I said, this should be for college tuition thing. Call Biden's bluff. Call the left's bluff on this. They won't pass it, but put forth the bill. Pass it through the House, send it to the Senate. Call their bluff. The Tom Cotton West Act, Woke Endowment Security Tax Act, legislation that would institute a 6% excise tax on the endowments of 10 American universities. Well, why is it limited to just 10? Any university with an endowment over $250 million should be taxed, a one-time wealth tax. Tom, I think, is talking about making it a permanent 6% excise wealth tax on endowments from here into perpetuity, which would never pass. And why I say do a one-time wealth tax. Again, how could the left oppose it? They will, but how could they oppose it? They're the ones talking about a wealth tax all the time. Back to the Cotton press release. The revenue from the taxes, which would amount to $15.47 billion, would act as a source of funding for money going to Israel's war against Hamas, Ukraine's war against Russia, and to efforts to secure the southern border. So thank you, Tom Cotton. It's about darn time somebody's run with one of my ideas again. way back when, you may recall, Chuck Schumer started the Republicans are nothing but the party of no, N-O. Well, back then I came up with the response, the Republicans are the party of no, as in knowledge, K-N-O-W. And my friend Thaddeus McCotter was in the House of Representatives at that time, and he took my idea, and it indeed became a Republican talking point, counterpoint to Chucky Schumer for about a year and a half. So thank God somebody's listening. And this isn't the first time Tom Cotton or someone on his staff seems to have borrowed that concept, because let me scroll through my notes here, if you see in the video. And again, I talk about this in part in the Time for New GOP Leadership with Some Fight and Imagination. You can find that article back on thelibertybeacon.com. Put Joseph M. Leonard in the search field to find all my articles about turning the tables on the left and putting forth such an act. But the truth is, this is not the first time somebody from Tom Cotton's staff was paying attention and borrowed my idea, but we never really heard much about this from a year ago or so, still well after I suggested the wealth tax on endowments. And in thelibertybeacon.com, woke tax corresponding article, I will be embedding a 9-minute video that is from YouTube. Tom Cotton's based bill will tax endowments to pay high school grads $9,000 to learn on the job. Again, making the universities pay for some on-the-job training, some actual useful skills, rather than the worthless degrees Biden and the left want to forgive loans on. I have some other notes, but I'm running a bit long, so let me scroll through real quick. We'll say in the article, does any of this sound familiar? But I already laid out how I've talked about it several times. And also, Bernie Santards and, Burnt Butt Bernie or Pocahontas. How could they oppose these? And I go on to make a note about, and no, I have zero issue calling leftist loons names on occasion, as they are experts and doing nothing but call us name using Alinsky attacks, because they cannot win a logic, reason, fact-based discussion. They're always calling us racist, sexist, whatever phobic, etc. That does not make me a hypocrite, however. It makes me principled still. You always hear me say, principles, not personalities. The principle here, return fire when fired upon. So yes, you keep calling us names on occasion. Yes, I will engage in it back. I will name call, but it's a principled fire back when fired upon principle. For those of you who understand logic, reason, principles, value, and common sense. Normally, as the saying goes, is, don't get in the mud with the pigs because you just get dirty and the pigs like it. Well, modern politics, the way it is, especially with the left identity politics, name calling is required to get the soundbite, to get to the substance, as I've discussed here today. So, at any rate, thank you very much for tuning into this episode. I appreciate it as always. Again, Happy New Year. For those of you looking on video, I'm putting on my 2024 Happy New Year glasses again. And as you can see, they don't say Happy New Year on them, because I ain't stupid. I bought glasses. They have a U.S. flag on them in 2024. I can now use these for 4th of July to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Huh? Fly as a fox, always thinking. And shout out to Tyrus on the Gutfeld show, because I saw Tyrus was wearing the same set of glasses. I've had these for about a month now, waiting and leading up to the new year. So shout out to Tyrus. You just so happen to get the same, sadly, made in China set of New Year's glasses. Take care. God bless. I wish God indeed may bless you in 2024, the new year. Thank you for having tuned into ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. And you can obviously learn more about the very non-traditional or fluffy style Christian book, but a Christian book nonetheless. Also, please tune in to Savage Unfiltered Podcast, of which I am a co-host, and be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. In addition to seeing the corresponding thelibertybeacon.com piece referenced in any episode of ChristiTutionalist Podcast, see to the show transcript on podcast platforms that provide access to it, like Buzzsprout at tinyurl.com/ChristiTutionalist for additional bonus material there in the transcript. Thank you. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and Savage Unfiltered. Maybe even go back a few years and dig up some old The Patriot Angles. Share episodes. We need your help to grow the show.
It is a myth that terrorism stopped during COVID. Unfortunately, mainstream media opted to prioritize pandemic hysteria over promoting all news. Terrorism continues. Simply hoping that it doesn't affect you is not a strategy. The new book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, featured on The Author Show, is now available in paperback from bookstores, online, or as an ebook exclusively through Amazon Kindle. Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you by Joseph M. Leonard. Order today.